So AEW Dynamite was a pretty eventful show. I mean, Sammy Guevara won the TNT Championship, and I think that MJF might be the devil himself. But I've also seen quite a few people talking about CM Punk's commentary, and while I personally enjoyed it, I think he was hilarious and I got 2011 vibes, some people take the wrestling seriously. And the man was obviously having a lot of fun on commentary, and sometimes he forgot the names of some wrestlers, which is pretty understandable. We're seeing a 50-man tag team match in the ring. But one thing that people are talking about is CM Punk, well, talking about himself all the time. Which is, I'm not sure if I have a problem with that. I think it was entertaining, but I get your point. This show was a tribute to Brodie Lee. He said, "Tonight is not about me." And then he talked about himself for 10 minutes straight. Yeah, I just think it was pretty hilarious. But the one line was pretty questionable to me. So during this Dark Order match, which was basically a tribute to Brodie Lee, he said, "I would be bummed if I was in the Dark Order too." Which, there are many ways you can look at it. Obviously, this could be a shot at Dark Order, which would be, it feels really unnecessary and really tasteless during a Brodie Lee tribute match. But I hope and think that CM Punk was just talking about them, in kayfabe, because right now the storyline is they're having issues, they don't get along. And maybe that's what CM Punk was referring to. You also seen Colt Cabana in this match, who is CM Punk's former friend, now rival. Maybe that's the reason he said that. And don't get me wrong, I don't think it was that big of a deal. I just think it's an interesting discussion to have. Did you guys like CM Punk on commentary or not? I honestly believe it was a big mistake to have the guy on commentary because people were expecting for him to interfere, to basically, start a new rivalry, because every time we saw someone talking, people were chanting for CM Punk, expecting him to interrupt because the man was on commentary, and that didn't happen. So people were not trying to disrespect the wrestlers in the ring cutting promos, they just thought that CM Punk was about to get called out. I think it was a mistake to have CM Punk on commentary and not have him involved in anything. And I really hope the line about Dark Order was just him talking about the storyline, because I honestly don't believe he would be that stupid and insensitive to try and bury Dark Order during Brodie Lee's tribute show. And it's not like that many people are talking about this. For the most part, people just didn't like the fact that CM Punk was talking about himself all the time. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe that CM Punk was intentionally taking shots at Dark Order, or that was just him talking about the storyline? Now, when it comes to the show itself, loved it. Like I've said many times, I've missed this kind of professional wrestling. I'm happy that I'm able to make these reviews again. I'm happy that every Wednesday I'm actually interested in what I'm watching. Like I've said, we see a great segment after segment, interesting match after match. The roster is just so good right now. There is barely any boring filler. Now, this show kicked off with CM Punk joining commentary, and then we go straight into Adam Cole versus Jungle Boy. Man, so many great theme songs. This whole thing was like a concert. So this was a pretty interesting match. Absolutely loved it. I love Jungle Boy. I love his in-ring style, and I absolutely love his look. One of the most unique looking wrestlers. We all thought it was over because Adam Cole hit one of his finishers, but that was E2, and the crowd popped hard. The match continues, but of course, Adam Cole still wins the match. We saw a low blow, last shot, Adam Cole takes the W. So even though this was pretty predictable, I still enjoyed it, and AEW know how to make someone lose without hurting their credibility. I didn't mind this at all, even though I love Jungle Boy. Then we see the Elite, and Carl Anderson introduces everyone, the AEW champion, Adam Cole, the greatest tag team of all time, basically everyone. Oh, and also Brandon Cutler. The Elite always gave me weird vibes. I'm not sure whether I love them or hate them. As good as they are, sometimes they come off unorganic for me, and I don't know what it is about this group. Nick Jackson asks, "Are you ready for the best promo in wrestling?" Nakazawa, people were chanting for CM Punk. Yeah, we heard that a lot. I think people were expecting, again, I've said this before, but people were expecting for CM Punk to interrupt at some point because he was on commentary all the time. And that didn't happen. And sometimes it made sense for the crowd to actually chant for CM Punk because the best in the world was used, the best promo in the world. MJF also said straight edge people were expecting for CM Punk to interrupt. And it's not even that big of a deal, but some people, took CM Punk's chants as an insult, which actually was before in the WWE. So Kenny talks about his match against Danielson, and he says people were complimenting him all the time, that was one of the best matches in AEW, but Danielson will never get the rematch. We see Danielson, and he calls Kenny Omega Kenny no balls because he refuses to have a rematch. Kenny got really offended. Danielson says, fine, I'll challenge anyone in the Elite to a match on Rampage. Omega says, why wait? Let's do it now. Danielson calls out his friends to even things up. The Elite leave and people were chanting Kenny no balls. This made me believe we're going to get a big 50,000 men tag team match in the main event, but that's not exactly what happened. Basically, you're getting Bryan Danielson versus Nick Jackson at Rampage. So I don't know why he called out all of his friends. Not sure. Now, I love the fact that we got to see this match on free television. I know many people complained, but it just made things even better. Now you know this could be the greatest wrestling match in a very long time. It kinda was, so now you want more, and now you're going to pay for it. Also, Kenny Omega playing the no rematch card works. It's one of these weird cases where, yes, we already saw the match, but that just makes us want to see this match even more. Because now we know. We saw Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson versus Matt Sydal and Dante Martin. Cody got a big entrance again, which is something for some reason many people hate. So this was a fine match, but that's not the point. So basically Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson win, but Arn Anderson is not happy. By the way, Cody got booed. I know he said he's never going to turn into a heel. He might have to. People see Cody as an authority figure who got himself a nice entrance, and obviously people hate this kind of stuff. I don't get it, but that's how people are. So Arn basically gets some things off his chest. Cody was calling out Malachi Black, but Arn tells Cody to stop talking. You got destroyed in your first match, and in the second match, you checked on me. But it's not about me. Hell with me. He talks about Black and says he will do anything to win a match and destroy the man he's with. Ask Lee, ask my son Brock. There is a big difference between himself and Cody. If a man tries to steal his car, Cody will let him take it. But Arn will put out his Glock and blast him. And he's not going to stay with a loser who doesn't even listen to him. Okay, that was great. By the way, I loved when Arn Anderson said, I would fight him myself, I'm just too damn old. This felt real. I absolutely love this. Arn Anderson is basically insinuating that I could beat Malachi Black if I was younger. You? Not sure. Get your shit together. In general, one of the best things in AEW for me personally is these pairings between wrestlers and managers. It makes things a lot more legit, especially when a manager is a former wrestler himself. Then we saw Beer Country and Anthony Green versus Moxley, Kingston, and Allin. We saw a funny moment with Sting. So this was basically a squash match, and obviously Moxley, Kingston, and Darby Allin won. Moxley didn't even need to take his vest off. Then we saw a big 16-man tag team match, and this was beautiful. I actually got emotional when I saw Brodie's son. You know, wrestling is all about big, hairy, sweaty, smelly men fighting and doing whatever it is that we call pro wrestling, but sometimes it can be beautiful as well. You would expect the Dark Order to be on the same page during the show, but that wasn't the case. They were still arguing, but we saw Brodie's wife, and she just basically told them to get their shit together. During this whole match, people were chanting Brodie, and of course the Dark Order won the match. Wouldn't have it any other way. Every time I see Brodie Lee's signs or him getting mentioned, or when I see Dark Order, it just still feels unreal. It's absolutely crazy. Now, during this show, people were expecting Bray Wyatt, obviously because Brodie Lee was a big part of the show, and people are expecting a new leader. Now, honestly, I know many people will say, well, the Dark Order doesn't need a new leader. That would be disrespectful. And I get your point. I think the only way it wouldn't be disrespectful if it was Bray Wyatt. I think that's the only man who could actually take this faction and, take the lead. I think it would be more of a tribute and in a way, helping his friend out. Lio Rush is coming back to AEW and he has a, kind of a Wall Street gimmick, which is one of the most random things you could ever imagine. Now, this man actually said he retired. I guess he changed his mind. He's very talented. Can't wait to see him in the ring. Great addition to the roster. We'll see what this gimmick is all about. Kinda reminds me of Happy Corbin. We saw the Bunny and Penelope Ford versus Anna Jay and Tay Conti. Obviously, Anna Jay and Tay Conti won the match with a submission, because they're a part of a Dark Order 2. And we saw another beautiful moment with them and Brodie Lee's son. MJF is just on a whole different level. There's a heel, and then there's MJF. He says the company is building more and more momentum, and there's some younger guys that will take this company forward. Jungle Boy, beat him. Sammy Guevara, beat him. Darby Allin, whatever, and myself. Without him, this company ain't shit. He deserves to be the AEW World Champion. He tells Tony Khan that he needs to give him what he wants. He also called him his second favorite Khan in the wrestling business. He then says he has Bruce Pritchard on speed dial. Man, I know many people are going to complain about AEW mentioning WWE again. Who gives a shit, man? That was entertaining. That was great. This felt real. Whenever I see someone talking about stuff that you wouldn't expect them to talk during a scripted wrestling show, it just feels more real. And this made sense. He's threatening the company to leave. And instead of saying, I'm going to leave to the other place, he gives you names. We see Darby Allin. MJF says, I'm not a huge fan of you interrupting me. You're jealous that you're number 2. I know another great number 2 guy. Sting. Darby says, just go. Nobody would even care. I'm going to be in AEW forever. MJF says, I love your Batman voice. And asks everybody why Allin is straight edge. He tells all the people in the audience that when Allin was younger, he was going in a car with his uncle, and his uncle, who was drunk, died that night. And he also said, that night, the wrong man died. I don't know. That's crazy. This shit hits hard. I absolutely love it. I'm wondering how long until the man gets in trouble for something offensive. I mean, we know it's a character, but there are some people who just don't get it. Darby says, keep talking, you're not gonna break me mentally. And MJF just leaves. Man, I think MJF might just be my favorite wrestler in AEW at the moment. The man is just on a whole different level. He's still so young. Every time you think his promos can't get any crazier, well, we see this. And of course, in the main event, we see Miro versus Sammy Guevara for the AEW TNT Championship. That was pretty entertaining. Sammy Guevara looked like an underdog during this match. I also appreciated how TNT Championship is being booked. I wouldn't even call it a mid-card championship if I'm being honest. It's just a bit lower than the World Championship, and I absolutely love that. Maybe we need like a TV Championship for the mid-carders, because this one, it feels important. It honestly feels almost as big as the World Heavyweight Championship. So Miro removed the turnbuckle. It backfired. We see a Tornado DDT, GTH, and 630 for the W. And we have a new AEW TNT champion. Now, I don't want to come off as some AEW mark or WWE hater. I watch both shows, I review both shows. WWE will always have a special place in my heart, whatever. I'm just being honest, and you guys probably noticed that as well. This felt important, right? This felt like a big moment, big W, everyone is happy. For whatever reason, if we would see like a United States Championship match in the main event of Raw and we would see a new champion, for some reason, for whatever reason, it just doesn't feel important. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's the wrong people, bad commentary, the production, whatever it is, it just doesn't feel big. Maybe these are just our standards for WWE's mid-card championships. So let me know your thoughts on this episode of AEW Dynamite. I think it was pretty good. Like I've said, the roster is just so good. It's kinda hard to get bored. I stopped watching AEW during the pandemic era because I just didn't think the product was that good, and we will always remember the first few months of AEW as the golden age of AEW. People will say that was the best version of AEW. Now let's be fair. Nostalgia aside, this is the best era of AEW yet. By far. The roster is just unbelievably good. There's always something happening. There are so many potential matches. Whatever is happening right now, it's gonna be really hard to top that. So thank you for watching the video, the great one. Peace, love, and hugs. It's been a pleasure.